JSON Web Token. It is a token implementation which will be in the JSON format and designed to use for web application requests. What is JSON? JSON stands for JSON Web Token. It is a token implementation which will be in the JSON format and designed to use for web requests. It is designed to use for web requests. Got it? JSON Web Token. JWT is most common and favorite token type that many systems use nowadays due to its advantages. So many applications are getting developed, so many REST APIs we are developing. In order to secure our REST APIs, we are using JWT tokens to secure our applications because JWT having so many features and advantages. JWT token can be used in both authentication and authorization scenario. I already explained what is authentication and what is authorization. Authentication means we are going to check whether that user can access that application or not. Authorization means we are going to check whether that user can access that functionality or not. Okay? JWT can be used for both authentication and authorization scenario. Can you please read these points? What is JWT? JWT stands for JSON Web Token. It is a token implementation which will be in the JSON format and it is designed to use for web requests. JWT is the most common and favorite token type that many systems use nowadays due to its features and advantages. JWT token can be used in both authentication and authorization scenario. When to use JWT? So if you want to authorize the request of the application or if you want to authenticate the request of the application, we can go for JSON tokens. Now, what is this JSON token? A JWT token, JWT stands for JSON Web Tokens, right? JWT token has three parts which are separated by dot. Below is the sample JWT token. You see here, I have given three colors: green color, red color, sky blue color. So that is one JSON token. The JSON token is separated by dot and it contains three parts. JSON token separated by dot and it is containing three parts. Part 1, part 2, part 3. The JSON token is a combination of three parts. All the three parts will be separated by dot. Okay. Now, first part is called as header. Second part is called as payload. Third part is called signature. First part is called as header. Second part is called as payload. Third part is called as signature. If you are using JWT tokens to secure your applications, then that JWT token looks like this. That contains three parts. Part 1 is the header, part 2 is the payload, part 3 is the signature. Do you understand how the JSON token looks like? Guys, do you understand how the JSON token looks like? Fast guys, please respond. So JSON is a web tokens. JSON Web Tokens. It is used to secure our APIs. The JSON Web Token can be used for both authentication purpose and authorization purpose. JSON Web Token contains three parts. Those are header part, payload part, signature part. In the token is a long string, alphanumeric string is there, right? In that, first part is called header, second part is called as payload, third part is called as signature. First part is called as header, second part is called as payload, third part is called as signature. All the three parts will be separated by the dots, guys. All the three parts will be separated by the dots. Good. Now, structure, JWT structure. If I put all these things together, then you can see the JSON token like this. Header part will be available. Header part will represent what is the algorithm we are using to encode that string, and what is the algorithm type that we are using. Algorithm name, what type of token? Token type is JWT, JSON Web Token. Algorithm is HES256 or short 256 algorithms that we can use. Body, in the body we are giving subject, name, IAT, anything, the data that we are keeping in the body. Signature, that got generated based on the base 64 encoded values of header and body. Header value will be there in the token. You have seen this here in the previous slide. Header part will be available, body part will be available, and signature part will be available. Header part contains what? Name of the algorithm, type of the token. Algorithms, there are several algorithms available. We can use any algorithm. HS256 is the algorithm name. Token type is JSON Web Token. Body part contains name, IAT, subject, some values. Whatever the values that you want to keep in the body, you can keep it. Like username, password, something like that. You can keep the data in the body. Now, this header part and payload part will be encoded with the base 64. That is called the signature part. That is the third part. The combination of header and body in the base encoded format will be available as a signature. This is the structure of the JSON token. Structure of the JSON token. Like this, it looks like header, body, payload, header, payload, and signature. If you want to dig into the details of that header, what is there in the header? Header contains the algorithm name. Header contains type of the token. Body, also called as payload. Payload contains some details about that application, subject and name, IAT. You can keep anything there. Signature, it contains encoded header value and payload value. This is the structure of the JSON. Now, you can decode that JSON token online. So if you go to jwt.io website is available, guys. If you see here, JWT token decode, JWT decode, JSON Web Tokens. There is a website called jwt.io. Learn more about JWT, debugger, libraries, JSON tokens are available now. So this is one JSON token. This is one JSON token. You see, this is the header part, dot is available, and this is the body part, then dot is available, and this is signature part. In the slides, I have taken the data from here only, guys. This is jwt.io. This is official website for JWT tokens. This is official website for JWT tokens. Okay. Header contains what? Algorithm and date token type. Payload contains the data. Whatever you want, you can keep it. Signature contains the encoded header data, and payload data will be available in the signature. In the signature. Algorithm name. There are so many algorithms are available for header part. HS256 is one algorithm. PS384, that you can use one algorithm. When I use PS384, see here that header part is small, payload part is small, but signature part is increased. Now I can change the algorithm PS512. Oh my god. Signature part increasing like anything when I'm changing the algorithm name. There are several algorithms are available. You can use any one algorithm. Currently I'm using HS256 algorithm for my header. Header represents which algorithm you are using to generate the token, what type of token. It is a JSON Web Token. Payload data, subject, name, IAT. You can keep anything in the payload. Signature, the encoded header part, body part is available here. Encoded header part, body part is available in the token. Share this JWT token, copy it. Now, if I want to send this token, now I'm sending you this token in the chat. Can you click on that URL? Can you click on that URL which I have sent in the chat box? Can you click on that URL which I have sent in the chat box? You got my point? It's working, right? Yeah, that is the structure of the JSON token. Okay, JWT workflow. How the JWT is going to work? Now guys, see here, there is a client and there is a server. JWT workflow. There is a client and there is a server. What is the difference between client and server? Server is nothing but which is going to provide the resources Client is nothing but which is going to access the resources. Client means assume that one REST API is available and a client application is there, server application is there. Client application want to access this server application. Client application want to access this server application. Server is secured. Server is secured by using JWT. At the server side, they have implemented JWT security. Now client want to access that secured REST API. Already we have developed a client to access secured REST API. How we develop a client to understand the secured REST API, to access the secure REST API? We have sent authorization header in the request. Authorization header in the request in order to access secured REST API. But now here server side REST API is secured by using server side REST API secured by using basic authentication, or server side REST API secured by using JWT. Server side REST API secured by using basic authentication, or it is secured by using JWT. Here it is secured by using JWT. Previously, in the last week, we have developed one application with Spring Security Basic Authentication. We developed one application with Spring Security Basic Authentication. Now, in order to access secured REST API with basic authentication, I have used authorization header in the request and I am able to access. But today, my server is secured by using JWT. JWT stands for what? JWT stands for what? JWT stands for JSON Web Token. JSON Web Token contains 3 parts. What are the 3 parts, guys? What are the 3 parts? Header part, body part, and signature part. JSON token contains 3 parts. Header part, body part, signature part. Header part contains name of the algorithm and token type. Signature contains payload and header encoded value. Payload contains the data, any data that you want to keep in the token that you can keep in the body. Header dot payload dot signature, that is the structure of the JSON. Now, if a client want to access the server, which is secured by using JWT, client need that token. Client need that token. If a client send that token to the server, server will validate that the token. If the token is valid, then server will send response back to the client. Yesterday, in the last week, when we are accessing a secure REST API with the basic authentication, we know the username and password. Then I have encoded that username and password. I have sent in the request. Server validated that credential and provided me the response. But today, server is expecting username password, or server is expecting a JSON token, JWT token. My server is expecting username password, or my server is expecting JWT token. My server is expecting JWT token. So if client application send JSON token in the request, server will verify that JSON token is valid or not. If the token is valid, then server will process the request and will send the response. If the token is not valid, server will not process your request. Okay, here REST API is secured by using JWT token. That token contains a header part, payload part, signature part. The client application which you want to access the server application should send that JWT token in the request. If the requested resource having a JSON token security, then a client has to send that JSON token in the request. If that JSON token is valid, then server will process the client request and will send the response to the client. This is how JWT workflow will happen. Guys, did you understand the basic concept of how JWT working? How the JWT workflow is there? Do you understand what is the JWT workflow now? Yes, we understand what is the JWT workflow now. We understand what is the JWT workflow now. Okay, server is secured by using JWT token. Client want to access the secured server API. Client should send the JWT token to the server. If the token is valid, then server will process the request, will send the response to the client. Okay. Now observe carefully, guys. I have prepared this PPT with animation. Client is available, server is available. Here, server is secured with JWT. client wants to access the server. Client want to access the server. Client post request with the credentials to the server. Server will give one username and password to the client. Client will send the request to the server with those credentials. Are you guys getting my point? Who is sending a request now? Client is sending a request to the server. What client is sending the request? Client is sending a request to the server with the credentials. Client is sending a request to the server with the credentials, like our username and password. Like username and password. Now, what the server is doing? Server is verifying whatever the credentials that client has given, those credentials are valid or not. Server side team has given some credentials to the client application. Hey client, this is your username and password to access my application. So whenever client want to access our REST API, first client will send a post request to the server with the credentials. Then what server is doing? Server is authenticating the credentials. If the credentials are valid, server is generating a JWT token for the client. That I have shown you the JWT token now. This is the JWT token. This kind of JWT token will be generated for the client. Whenever client send a request to the server, client is sending the credentials in the request. Server is going to authenticate the credentials. Those credentials are valid or not. If the credentials are valid, then server will generate a token for the client. Then it will return JWT token to the client. Now you see the arrows. First client is making a request. First we have client application and we have a server application. Server is secured with JWT. Application, you use these credentials. Client will send a request to the server with those credentials. Then server will validate those credentials. That means authentication will be performed by the server. If the given credentials are valid, then server will generate one JWT token for the client. It will send that JWT token to the client. Here client may be a browser, or client may be a postman, client may be a other Java application, client may be a .NET application, client may be a Python application, whatever it is. Client will send one HTTP request to the server with the credentials. Server will validate those credentials. Server means REST API. Here REST API is going to validate the credentials. If the credentials are valid, then server will send the JWT token to the client. Guys, do you understand? Guys, do you understand? Do you understand? Who is generating the token?
Client.
Server side REST API. Server side REST API generating a token. Client is sending a request with the credentials. If the credentials are valid, our server is going to authenticate the credentials. If the credentials are valid, our server will generate a token for the client and token will be sent to the client. Now, client is accessing the actual REST API or client is just accessing a token now? Client accessed the actual REST API or client is accessing just a token now? Just a token. In order to access the actual functionality, client need that token, man. In order to access that functionality, client need that token. Client need that token. Okay, now let me tell you here. Let me tell you here. Here, IRCTC application is available. IRCTC application is available. In the IRCTC application, there is a method called book ticket. There is a method called book ticket. Okay. Now here, make my trip is available. Make my trip want to access IRCTC to book the ticket. Can make my trip directly access book ticket method? Can make my trip directly access book ticket? No. In order to access book ticket, make my trip needs a token. So that's why what the make my trip will do? First it is going to access token endpoint. First it is going to access token endpoint. Make my trip will send a request to the token endpoint. Token endpoint, it is going to send the request to the token endpoint with the username and password. If the given username password valid, then it is going to generate a token. It will send that JWT token back to make my trip. Now, with that token, this Make My Trip is going to access book ticket. It is going to send that token with in the request. If the token is valid, then actual response will come. Now, do you understand how the JWT is working? So this is our actual business logic. Booking ticket, main endpoint. This is our main endpoint. But Make My Trip can access the main endpoint directly. In order to access the main endpoint, we need the JWT. How to get the JWT? By accessing this endpoint, token endpoint. By accessing token endpoint, we can get the JWT. What is required to access the token endpoint? Username, password. Who will give that username, password? IRCTC team only will give you username, password. IRC team will give you a Make My Trip. This is your username and this is your password. Whenever you are making a request, you give me that username and password. I will verify your username and password. If your username and password are valid, then I will generate a unique token for you. I will give you that token. When you want to book a ticket, you send me that token in the request. If the token is valid, then I will send you the response. That is the agreement between the Make My Trip and IRCTC. This is how we are going to use JWT tokens to secure our REST APIs. This is called token-based security. That is what I am explaining here in the diagram. Okay. So now you understand the first step, right? Client is there, server is there. Client is sending a request to the server with the credentials. Server validating the credentials, generating a token, sending the token back to the client. Then what client will do? Send a JWT token on the authorization header. Now the client send actual request to the server to access. Now what happened? Validate the token. Server side, the token will be validated. Then send response to the client. This is the execution flow of JWT security. How we are going to send the token? Token we are going to send in the request with authorization header. Token we are going to send in the JWT with authorization header. Are you guys able to understand? How the JWT is working? Yes, now you know how the JWT is working. Okay. Now, in the video which I have given you, there I have explained how to access that application and how to test that application also. Where is that video? Let me play that once. We have tested that JWT part. This is the video. Link I have given for you. I have explained JWT token here. Got it? Let me play that video once. It is 1 hour 15 minutes. I have explained about what is JWT, what is the header part, what is payload part, what is the signature part. I have explained. JWT, whatever the application that I have accessed now, same application. Now go here. Header, JWT stands for JSON Web Token. JWT is common and famous technique to secure the web requests. We can use JWT for authentication and authorization. JWT token contains 3 parts. They are separated by dot. X, Y, Z. X is a header, Y is payload, Z is signature. Part 1 represents a header, part 2 represents payload, part 3 represents signature. Header part contains algorithm name and token type. Payload contains the claims information. Signature contains encoded header plus encoded payload plus secret key. So this much beautiful video I have given. Why you are not able to understand this? Yeah, right. Now let's come to this same PPT I have played in that video. Okay. Now you see this. What I have explained. Client application is sending a request to the resource application with username and password. Okay, username and password. Then resource application will check that resource application will check that credentials and will generate the token. Then token will be sent as a response to the client. Then client will send the token to the server. Server will verify the token and validate the token. If the token is valid, then request will be processed by the server. Then client will get the response for that. That is the JWT workflow. JWT workflow. Some program is there, guys. How we are going to execute. In our application, we have two endpoints. In our application, we have two endpoints. In our application, we have two endpoints. Right now, see here, Spring Boot application with the JWT token. Here we have two endpoints. One is a hello endpoint, another one is a token endpoint. Hello endpoint is the main endpoint that I want to access. That hello endpoint is secured by using JWT. So in order to access the hello endpoint, I need to get the token. In order to access the hello endpoint, I need to get the token. Okay. In order to access the hello endpoint, I need to get the token. So to get the token, we need to know the credentials. To get the token, we need to get the credentials. In order to access the hello endpoint, I need to get the token. To get the token, there is one endpoint called /token. Hello endpoint is a token-based secured endpoint. If token is valid, then only hello endpoint will be executed. Token endpoint is used for getting JWT token based on the user credentials. If credentials are valid, then only token will be generated. So now the credentials for getting the token is admin is the username, admin@123 is the password. Admin123 are the credentials. You send your request to the token with your credentials. It will give you JWT token. Use the JWT token in the request header and access the hello endpoint. Now, can you see this from here? How I am going to execute that application? Guys, see this application now. How I am executing. JWT token application I am executing. Now can you see I got the JWT token? Copy this JWT token. Copy the JWT token. Decode it. Copy the JWT token, paste it, then you can decode it. You will understand these are the details that are there in my token. Okay. See here. How I am sending a request to the token endpoint? I am sending a post request to the token endpoint. In the body, I am passing username as admin, password as admin@123. Username as admin, password as admin@123. I am sending the credentials in the request for the token endpoint. Now see here. See here. Click on send. When I send, I got a token. When I send the request, I got a token. Now, using the token, I want to access hello endpoint. Using the token, I want to access hello endpoint. Go to headers. As a bearer space, the token value. Bearer space, that token value I'm going to give. Bearer space token. Click on send. Hello world. I'm able to access the hello endpoint. Now you observe. You observe how I am sending the token in the request. I'm sending the token as the authorization header. Authorization value, bearer space, key value. I mean, the token I'm sending, whatever the token I got from the first request, I'm using the token to send the second request. Now server side, the token will be validated. The token will be validated. If my token is valid, then the request will be processed. Otherwise, request will not be processed. That means, in order to access your REST API, you need to send one request or you need to send two requests. In order to access the REST API, you need to send one request or you need to send the two requests. You need to send the two requests. First request for getting the token, second request to access the actual REST API methods. Now see this. If I give the incorrect token, it is not processing my request. Now let me come back. If I give the incorrect request, if I give the incorrect token, is it processing my request? No. Go to headers, authorization, value bearer space, token value, bearer space token value. Right? We got it. Successfully we are able to access. Let's give incorrect token. Let's give incorrect token. Authorization header, we are passing that a token. If the token is valid, then the client is giving the response to us. The token is valid, client is giving the response. If you give the token incorrectly, if you give the incorrect token, then client will not process your request. If you give the incorrect token, client will not process your request. Okay? Yes. Client sending the request. Now, some logic is available in order to generate the token. So in order to generate the token in our application, we are using JSON Web Token dependency in our application. We are using JSON Web Token dependency in our application. JSON Web Token dependency in our application. Yeah, some code is there, guys. Some code is there in order to generate the tokens. Some lot of code that we need to write in order to check it. Now you see, I'm checking the credentials, username and password. Here I'm configuring, and I'm checking the authorization starting with the bearer. I'm checking that token is valid or not. If the token is valid, then only we are going to process that request. You got it? How the JWT is working there? The code also I have explained there in that video. So if you go through that video, you will be able to understand. I will share these notes. I will share these notes and I will share this example also. Can you guys execute this example in your local? Bearer is just a static keyword, guys. Yesterday in the basic authentication, I gave basic. You can give anything. You can give a bearer or you can give anything, whatever you want. Bearer is just a text I am giving. Just a text. That is the default thing that people are recommending to use. Whenever you go for basic authentication, people will give it as a basic space encoded username password. When we go for JWT, you can give as a bearer. You can give anything. Even if you don't give it also, that's not a problem. Even if you don't give it also, that's not a problem. There is a default standard that people will follow when they are passing security headers in the request. If you don't give it also, no problem. Directly you can read the value and you can compare that value. These are not fixed keywords. You can use it. These are not fixed keywords. These are the recommended keywords that people are following in the industry. They are not fixed. You can use anything. You can use anything. Yes. Okay. So I will upload these notes and I will upload this example also, guys, in the Telegram. Can you guys practice this before coming to tomorrow's session? Can you guys practice this JWT example before coming to tomorrow's session? Sure. Apache Kafka, JWT, both are very, very important. Tomorrow I will tell you how to connect with multiple databases in the Spring Boot. How to work with multiple data sources, how to connect with multiple databases by using Spring Boot, that I am going to explain in the tomorrow session. That is also mostly configuration, guys. That is also mostly configuration. Yeah, if you already have your token, Rituraj, if you already have your valid token, then one request is sufficient. But you will not have the token now. Whatever the token that they are giving you, the token will have a expiry. Sometimes they will give the token for only one-time use to avoid the hackers' attacks. If I generate a token, I will give the expiry for the token. I will set the expiry as 30 seconds. The token will work only for 30 seconds. After that, the token will become invalid. I will set the token validity as 30 seconds. After 30 seconds, the token will become invalid. The token will become invalid. Okay? So go through that application what we have discussed here. Go through that application what we discussed here. If you are not understanding that, please let me know. Then we will discuss that. I have given the flow of execution. In the given video, I have explained the code also. What is the code that we need to write to generate the token? Yes, OAuth also I will explain. Multi-DB connection I will explain. Redis cache also I will explain. Don't worry guys. Three main topics are there. OAuth authentication, Redis cache, multi-DB connectivity with the Springboard. These are three famous interview questions. I will cover those three also. Tomorrow multi-DB connection I will explain. How to connect with multiple databases using Springboard. 14 SBMS people should attend morning 6 a.m. data JPA. Yeah. Okay. Thank you guys. Good night. So please practice that JWT before coming to tomorrow's session. Sure, I will check the mail. Thank you. Thank you guys. Good night.